What's going on YouTube? This is Guy in the Back Seat from DoomVeilerGames. Here with another video for you. Mainly because of the battle pack, I decided to go over a few of the banned cards that are actually in the battle pack. Now unfortunately I haven't pulled all the banned cards. I only pulled the ones that you saw in the previous video. But I figured that I would show or tell exactly why each of the cards in particular that I pulled are banned in general. Because a lot of players, like some players that actually play in the meta, are new to the game, so they don't know exactly why some cards are banned, and half of them don't even see the cards that are banned. Like, they don't even care about them because it's like they read the name and they say, not worth my time. So I'm here to, you know, do another Yu-Gi-Oh! For Dummies, essentially Volume 6, why these particular cards are banned. Now there's one card in here, that is not banned currently. It's actually unlimited, but I'm going to go over why it was banned. And actually I'm going to check real quick before I keep going to see if there's another card in here that's like the one that I just brought up. So give me a second, and no, it's not. So alright, so we're going to start with Makyura the Destructor. Okay. He's a 1600 Dark Warrior with 1200 defense. Not very impressive. But his line of text is a line that breaks the rules in Yu-Gi-Oh! During the turn this card is sent to the graveyard, you can activate trap cards from your hand. Okay, so during the turn he's sent to the graveyard, which means if he's milled, if he is discarded, if he is destroyed, if he is popped off while being face down, doesn't matter. He's like Dandelion, worded exactly the same. If he's sent to the graveyard in any way, shape, or form, you get to activate trap cards that turn from your hand. Now, most players need to realize that trap cards are activated in response to things, which means that, or they are chainable to virtually anything in the game. So, if your opponent mills this from your deck, because back in the day there were decks that milled, then you could activate your Solemn Judgment or your Interdimensional Matter Transporter or Spell Shield Type 8, but Solemn from the hand because they milled him. Cards that break the rules in Yu-Gi-Oh! Aren't necessarily like they don't make Konami happy, and they really don't make players happy, because this guy's actually mentioned in a few NTKs, which a lot of players haven't even heard that term because there's only 3 scenarios where it happens. NTK means no turn kill, means you don't even have to take a turn and you can win the duel. Now granted, they're extremely situational, probably never going to happen. Like, one of the examples is you have a Gores in hand and the opponent tries to burn you for 8k, then you can drop Gores and laugh in their face, but that scenario is never going to happen. Makyura makes those too easy to do, even though they're not possible. That he makes them possible. That's why he doesn't exist in the game, because he says, hey, your opponent tries to play a card and they milled this turn or sent it from your hand to the graveyard, you can then chain anything that's a trap. It doesn't matter. Compulse, I mean, trap hole, not dark hole, torrential, any trap. Like, just think about any trap and just play it from your hand. Don't set it, don't activate it next turn, just play it. And the fact that you can mill this and get the same thing to happen is why he's banned. So, there's your information, people. Makyura the Destructor, so banned, never gonna come back. Like, he's one of the few that I say, don't bring him back. He's like almost in the same caliber as Chaos Emperor Dragon, in my opinion. Dark Magician of Chaos. Well, you can see the next card now. Woo-hoo. Okay, D-Mock. Everybody's like hopeful that he's going to come back, and I personally want him back. I think that the game is way too fast to register a 2 tribute monster, but because of his first line of text, he's probably never going to come back. D-Mock, or Dark Magician of Chaos, is a level 8 dark spellcaster with 2800 and 2600, and his effect is that when this card is normal or special summoned, you can target 1 spell card in your graveyard, add that target to the hand, banish any monster destroyed by battle with this card, and when the face of the card leaves the field, you banished it instead. Okay, so what a lot of people have said, at least that I know, is that if you compulse a DMOC, then, you know, he goes out of play, which is kind of funny. But he's a 2800 2 tribute. Now, in Yu-Gi-Oh's, we don't tribute except for monarchs or heretics. We don't do anything else. So to see a 2 tribute is kind of silly. Like, 2 tributes is a lot to do to get 1 monster. But the fact that he gets its effect when he's special summoned is the big reason why he's still banned, in my opinion. Because if you think about the game, we have cards like Dark Hole, Heavy Storm, and Mystical Space Typhoon can even be a clinch victory nowadays. I mean, Pot of Duality, Pot of Avarice, I mean, so many powerful spell cards that this guy says, hey, if you play me, you get to use it again. And that's a very, very, very big deal. I mean, just think about how well your combos could explode if you could just grab a spell from the grave and put it back in your hand. That you didn't have to Feather Phoenix it and wait for a turn. I mean, there's so many ways that this guy can be abused. He's so good. But I think that the meta is ready for him. Like, people say, if Blackluster Soldier came back, then why can't we have back DMOC? Blackluster Soldier is just power. Like, that's the difference. Like, Blackluster Soldier is strictly power. This guy is tactics. Like, he's extremely powerful on his tactics. He will destroy a player's setup. Like you play DMOC, and then they say, oh, no, because they have 5 monsters on the field, which will never happen. But you grab back your Dark Hole, you pop off everything with Dark Hole, you remove DMOC from play, and then you play Return from Different Dimension and laugh. Because he's back, and then you can grab Dark Hole again. These are reasons why DMOC got banned. Because being able to activate a spell just for the sake of activating a spell is a very big deal in Yu-Gi-Oh! So, kudos to Konami for still keeping this banned, but I still hate you because I think that the meta could be ready for him. But if he doesn't come back, I won't be offended on the next list. But everybody wants this Pretty Shiny Man to come back. And hopefully he will, for like a format like they did with Snatch Steal, and then ban him again. Harpies Feather Duster. People cried when Heavy Storm came back, so Harpies is obvious. I mean, Harpies and Regeki should never come back. I don't think that the meta could ever be prepared for that. I mean, yes, we have Starlight Road, and yes, we have Huge Revolution is over, but those 2 cards alone don't justify bringing back a card that says destroy all spell and trap cards on your opponent's field. It's Heavy Storm for your opponent. And it's like you know the ninja tactics where you go zoom, super transformation, bring out your White Dragon Ninja, high five to you, and then you activate Heavy Storm and laugh. This card says just play Harpies. You don't have to do all that craziness. It just says destroy all your opponent's spell and trap cards. Retardedly powerful. I mean, it's so much advantage that it's terrifying. It's like, unless you have one of those cards, you have to have Herald of the Green Light, you have to have Starlight Road, or Huge Revolution is over. If you have any number more than 2 set back row, you're probably going to lose the duel if this card hits you. Which is why it's great in Sealed Pack, because there's only like, I think, maybe 50 spells and traps throughout the entire set. So, congrats. Graceful Charity. Okay. Honestly, if the card said at the end of its text, send 2 cards from your hand to the graveyard, it might have a chance of coming back from the ban list. But it definitely says discard 2 cards. Graceful Charity is the most explosive draw power in the game. So good that the anime made excuses for every single person in the freaking show to play the card in Battle City. Graceful Charity says we get 3 more cards and then we pitch any 2. It's not it's not like Duality where it says reveal 3, pick 1, and put the others back in the deck. If this said reveal 3, pick 1, discard or send the other 2 from the deck to the graveyard, that would be a whole different ballpark. But this card says get 3. If you already have like say 5 cards extra in your hand because it's the first turn, you now have 8 cards and you pick 2 of those and they go to the graveyard and they're discarded. Which means if you're playing Dark World, you win the duel. It doesn't matter. You don't have to play Reckless. You don't have to play anything because this card does the job all in one amazing power play. This card was legal for a very long time and they finally banned it because it was so powerful. It adds so much consistency. Like, I mean, look at draw power nowadays. Duality. People are finding excuses to play Shard of Greed. Look at everything that could possibly be done for a draw card. This card does that job better than any other draw card in the game, aside from Pot of Greed, which just says draw 2. I mean, Pot of Greed, hands down, most powerful draw spell in the entire game. Draw 2 cards, just +1 automatically. No negs, no anything, just draw 2 cards. This card says draw 3, which is 1 more, but then you have to pitch 2, so you're technically not even plussing, because you're using this, drawing 3, and discarding 2. Technically, you use 3 cards to get 3 cards, which is a 0 overall, but this card still helps you so much. I mean, milling and everything else is so much consistent and normality in the game nowadays. This card can't come back. It will never come back. I mean, if it does come back, I mean, I know I'm saying all this, and then somebody's gonna like be trollsy and say, hey, well, they brought back BLS. BLS, like I said earlier, is all power. Tactical cards, things that assist and add consistency to decks. This card alone can never come back, in my opinion. I mean, can you just think about the bullcrap with that? It's every other turn if you play the right deck. It's stupid. Extremely powerful. Love the card. In sealed play, love the card. In traditional format, hate the card in advanced because it will add too much consistency. Alright, so the next card I'm going over is Jinzo. Let's have a little history lesson on Jinzo. Jinzo is the 000 secret rare from Pharaoh's Servant, which if you know anything about the game, Pharaoh's Servant was the 4th set ever. And back then, they would couple 2 sets from Japan into 1 set for us to play with here in America. Jinzo was the rarest card for a very long time. Jinzo was pro. Jinzo was, you go for Jinzo, you win for a while. And I'm here to like just explain how Jinzo went from limited to 1 to banned for virtually ever, back to 1, then to 2, and then to 3. And everybody kind of, traditional players like came back and said, Jinzo's at 3, this meta must be dumb. Alright, let's just go over the basics. Jinzo is a level 6 Dark Machine 2400, 1500. Now, the defense stat is one of the reasons why the guy got banned. Or limited, whichever one. At the time, Witch of the Black Forest was a legal card. Witch of the Black Forest, mind you, says grab any monster with 1500 or less defense from your deck and place it in your hand. So you could just grab Jinzo, or Summon Skull, or any other high-power monster that had low defense, because that's normal back in Yu-Gi-Oh! Days, where you have any Monarch, mind you, any Monarch can be grabbed with Witch. It's ridiculous. So what does Jinzo do that's so powerful? He just negates all traps. Like I said earlier with Makyura, Makyura breaks the rules. Jinzo makes the rules. Makyura like can win games. Jinzo will win games. Back in the day, it was like you had triple solemn judgment. You had mirror force. Like that would be your ace play. Was your mirror force ready to stop the opponent? But you got to put it back in those perspective in the those days. Until this guy came out, the only way to stop trap cards was 7 tools of the freaking bandit. Okay, so you had to give up 1,000 life points and solemn judgment. So it was either give up half your life points or give up 1,000 life points to stop a trap. That was all made easier with a, hey, you tribute 1 monster and you get this guy and he stops all traps forever. Yours and your opponent's, granted. But then people started to realize Call of the Haunted tricks, where you could flip a Call of the Haunted, bring him back, and he would negate Call of the Haunted, so if the opponent destroyed Call of the Haunted, he stayed. And, you know, it's like, Jinzo tricks was like a really big deal. Because Jinzo would just come back, and you wouldn't have a way to deal with him. I mean, he was 100 points strong, 100 points less than, like, the most popular monster in the game ever, which is Dark Magician. So he was weaker than Summon Skull, his like big brother who could pound over things. But Jinzo was so powerful that they limited him, and then they banned him outright. They just said, no Jinzo, you can't play with him. He's too good for the game. If he's banned, then we can actually use trap cards again, and like, because the meta kind of took a turn and everything kind of went downhill, and everybody went towards no trap decks or like playing only a couple traps. And Jinzo, because he would just hit the table and then you could laugh at him and say, well, he's not so good. So Konami said, well, we don't want people not to buy our packs to get our trap cards, so they banned Jinzo. Then they bring him back, and they're like, well, we'll bring him back. Nobody, it kind of made a ripple, like everybody kind of said, oh, cool, I can finally tech that Jinzo again. But Jinzo doesn't really end games anymore at the point when they brought him back. So then they put him at 2, and then they put him at 3, and he still is at 3, and people don't seem to care. He's kind of going the same way as Call the Haunted, which was banned for a while as well, because of the Jinzo tricks, where you could go call back Jinzo and then laugh. So seeing this guy at 3, if you came from Pharaoh's Servant era, you're happy as heck. But then you realize that you have stuff like this, which is way faster, way more aggressive, and way better overall. So why would you go for a card that negates all the trap cards? You know, you play this with no traps. But the point is, you see how the steady incline and decline. Cards like Jinzo are capable of coming back. Cards like Graceful Charity can't. Cards like D-Mock are capable of possibly one day maybe coming back, but they might not. And cards like Feather Duster and Makyura, these cards will never come off the list. Jinzo, I'm glad to see you at 3, buddy. Like, you're old school and you make me happy, but you're never gonna see play in aggressive, competitive format again, probably, unless trap cards become the new norm. If friggin' trap monster decks become big and you gotta play that Joey Wheeler pull out of bullcrap play and drop this guy to just destroy and negate all their trap cards, and then they don't have their embodiment of Apopus, then maybe Jinzo will see some play again. But anybody that's watching this probably just laughed at the fact that I said embodiment of Apopus, when we have way better stuff like Metal Reflect Slam nowadays. Anyway, just saying, Jinzo, you've seen the climb to the 0 all the way down to the 3. So cards like this, good to come back. Tsukiyomi maybe could come back. I mean, there's a lot of banned cards that could possibly come back. But this video is literally just to explain Yu-Gi-Oh! For Dummies. Banned cards that won't come back, maybe him. Banned cards that came all the way back and nobody cared. Thank you for your time. Guy in the back seat, comment, rate, subscribe, and have a nice day.